I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Today's video discussion, a continuation of the previous video, focuses on the muscular system. What is your estimate of our total number of muscles? 100, 200, 300, 600, 1000? Indeed, the human body contains over 600 skeletal muscles. However, it's important to note that we don't need to memorize all these muscles, as we are not aiming to become doctors. Instead, we will concentrate on the major muscles of our body. Most muscles extend from one bone to another, have at least two attachment points, and across at least one joint. Tendons attach muscles to bones, as we know from our understanding of the skeletal system in our previous discussion. These points of attachment at either end of the muscle from the origin and the insertion. It's crucial to keep in mind that muscles are only capable of pulling. They cannot push. When a muscle makes contact, the contraction of one bone towards another across a movable joint results in movement. Remember that movements go together in pairs. Skeletal muscles responsible for these movements naturally arrange themselves in pairs, such as the biceps brachii and triceps brachii. We often refer to this as antagonistic muscle action. The body can return to its initial position by reversing the actions of one muscle. This picture is a representation of our muscles. So the labeled here are the major muscles only, and it is more likely more or less than 29 muscles that you need to memorize for our prelim examination. So in this representation, it is on an anatomical position, palms facing upward. So let's start here in the upper part of the muscles. We have the trapezius. It's located in your collarbones, near your collarbones. Next is the deltoid. It's located in the front of your shoulder. Next is the triceps brachii and the biceps brachii. It's in the lower of the shoulder part. Next is the pronator laris. Next is the wrist flexors. So these are located no in that you can see in your shoulders. Kana bitawng na kanang part nga ma-bend, so nadira ang pronator laris. Dayon below that is your wrist flexors. Mabantayan ninyo kung inyo habitang ilihok-lihok inyong fingers, di ba nay mga muscles diha nga mag-move pod. So that is the wrist flexors. We also have the iliopsoas, which is located in your thigh. And then we have the quadriceps. It's called quadriceps because there are four of them, which are the rectus femoris, vastus intermedius, vastus lateralis, and the vastus medialis. We also have the tibialis anterior, so it's located in your shin. Next, we have the pectoralis major located in your chest. We also have rectus abdominis, so from the word abdomen, so it's located in your abdomen. We also have external oblique and internal oblique. Next, we have the adductor longus. It's located also in your thigh part, but it's kanabitang between your legs. We also have the gastrocnemius, which is your bagtak, and we also have the soleus. In the posterior view or the back view of your body, so uh, the trapezius is there. You can find your trapezius there behind your neck and in the middle part. So it's on the side of your on the side of your spine. The deltoid in the back. We also have the infraspinatus. It's also near in your trapezius. We also have teres major. We have the latissimus dorsi. It's in your back, uh, specifically on your rib part at the back. We also have the gluteus medius and gluteus maximus, which is your lobot. We have adductor magnus. That's part of your thigh below your butt. We have the hamstrings, so it's composed of three muscles. We have the biceps femoris, the semitendinosus, and the semembranosus. So that comprises the hamstring located at the back of your legs, likod sa inyong tuhod, that is the hamstring. Then same with the front, we have the triceps brachii, the wrist extendors. Kung sa tubangan, wrist flexors, sa likod, wrist extendors. We have the gastrocnemius at the back and the soleus. So less than 29 ni sila no kay balik lang maning uban like gastrocnemius, the soleus, and the triceps brachii and the trapezius. As what I have made mention a while ago, we should always remember that movements go together in pairs. As skeletal muscles are responsible for these movements, it makes sense that muscles are also arranged in pairs. For example, the biceps brachii and the triceps brachii. So here is a representation of the movement, no? So do not be confused of the movement. This movement that we refer from is the movement in the joints in our elbow. So this movement in in the left part of the picture, it shows a movement of extension in the elbow. So while our elbow extends, the tricep contract while the biceps relax. So as you can notice in the picture, the muscles are colored in red and the bones are colored in yellow. So the muscles involved in this movement is the bicep and the tricep, while the bones involved in this movement is the humerus, insertion, radius, and ulna. On the right side of the picture, we have here the movement of flexion. In the flexion movement, the biceps contract and the triceps relax. Okay, so this refers from the movement in our elbow. This is often referred to as antagonistic muscle action. This means that whatever one muscle can do, there is another muscle that can undo it to return the body to its original position. So that is how we are wonderfully made, right? Because if there are muscles that can do the movement, there's also the muscles that can let us return to our original position. As well as movement, muscles are also needed to provide support and stability to the body. For example, we have muscles such as the transverse abdominis and the multifidus that are responsible for maintaining our posture and promoting our core stability. And we also have muscles such as the rotator cuff group that work to enhance the stability of the shoulder joint. The role of muscular contraction. Muscular contractions occur as a result of a stimulus being sent to a muscle to produce tension. All muscular contractions can be classified as being either isotonic or isometric. Isotonic contraction can occur in two ways: concentric contraction and eccentric contraction. So to better understand the movements, or the contractions, we have here a picture. So on the left side, this is the isotonic contraction, and on the right side, we have the isometric contraction. So we have two types of isotonic contraction, which are concentric contraction and the eccentric contraction. On the first left, concentric contraction in the biceps brachii during upward phase of exercise. As you can notice, the muscles which has an arrow, the muscles meet together, so the biceps brachii produce tension and it shortens. It pulls the forearm upward to cause flexion of the elbow. So same with the example earlier, no, the movement of flexion. While in the eccentric contraction occurs in the biceps brachii during the downward phase of the exercise, so which is carrying a dumbbell. So the biceps brachii produce tension and lengthen, so it slows the lowering of the forearm and controls extension of the elbow. While the isometric contraction, so it occurs in the biceps brachii when the muscle is holding the weight still. So, gigunitan lang niya, no? Wala siya movement nga upward and downward. So, just holding. So, that is the isometric contraction. The biceps brachii develops tension and stays the same length. It stops flexion and extension of the elbow. So, dili siya flexion, dili po siya extension. So, that is the isometric contraction. Our focus will be on the muscles you need for this course. Since learning these muscles is difficult, the best way may be to take one joint at a time and learn the muscles responsible for each movement and its location in the body. It is worth noting here that many muscles are capable of producing more than one joint motion. But in the following pictures, each muscle is associated with just one movement to help keep things relatively simple. So let us learn the location and action of specific muscles. As what we have discussed in the previous video and also a while ago, we all know that the muscles alone cannot produce a movement. The same with the bones alone cannot produce a movement. So the bones and the muscles should work together. So for this movement, under the joint of the radioulnar, so it can produce two movements. First is the pronation of the radioulnar joint, and the muscle responsible is the pronator teres, located at the superior anterior of the forearm. The next movement is the supination of the radioulnar joint, and the muscle responsible is the supinator, located at the lateral anterior forearm. So we have here a picture representation so you can locate where is the location of the muscles responsible. Next joint or the next part that can produce movement is from the wrist. So same with the previous one, it can produce two movements. So its movements is the flexion of the wrist joint. The muscle responsible is the wrist flexors and it is located at the anterior forearm. Next movement, of course, when there is a flexion, there is also an extension of the wrist joint. The muscle responsible is the wrist extenders and it is located at the posterior forearm. So this is an easy way to memorize. When we say flexion movement, the responsible is the wrist flexors and the extension is the wrist extensors. But we should always remember that the wrist joint is a condylate joint with its articulating bones being the radius, ulna, and carpals. Next one is the joint located in the elbow. So same with the wrist, the movement that it can produce is the flexion and extension. The muscle responsible for the flexion of elbow joint is the biceps brachii, which is located at the anterior upper arm. Next, for the movement extension, the muscle responsible is the triceps brachii, and it is located at the posterior upper arm. The infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis form an important group of muscles known as the rotator cuff, along with the supraspinatus muscles. The shoulder joint has a large range of movement and is relatively shallow, so the surrounding ligaments alone cannot keep the joint stable during physical activity. The rotator cuff muscles improve the stability of the shoulder joint by helping to hold the head of the humerus in contact with the glenoid cavity of the scapula. You can understand how the rotator cuff muscles prevent dislocation of the shallow shoulder joint by imagining yourself gripping a shot from the top to pick it up and comparing it to the head of the humerus. The muscles associated with the spine and trunk are crucial, as they not only facilitate joint movement but also serve as stabilizers to support the trunk during various physical activities, like running or playing tennis. The joints and muscle of the arms and legs can work more efficiently and safely if they have a solid foundation or core to pull from. The principle underpins core stability, which is why many athletes are dedicating time to specifically enhance their core stability. The benefits of improving core stability include more efficient use of muscles and joints, a decreased risk of injury, and improved posture. Core stability closely relates to posture. Two muscles significantly influence posture, as you can see here in the picture. The muscle responsible for moving the spine and maintaining the core stability are the transverse abdominis and the multifidus. The transverse abdominis maintains the excellent muscle tone. It also plays a crucial role in alleviating lower back pain. So as you can see here in the picture, it displays the location of these two muscles. So the multifidus is located beside our spine, so it has a structure, while the transverse abdominis is located in the abdomen. So it supports it so it don't para dili siya maluyat. So that is the main role. In here for the movement of the shoulder, so as we can recall, no, the joint involved in our shoulder is a synovial joint, and the specific joint is the ball and socket, and it can move to the three planes, so it has a lot of movement. So it can move flexion for the anterior, for the middle it can move abduction, for the posterior it can move extension. The muscle responsible for those movements is deltoid, and it's located in the cover shoulder of joint. Next movement is the adduction, and the muscle responsible is the latissimus dorsi, located at the posterior trunk. The third movement is the horizontal flexion. The muscle responsible is the pectoralis major, and it is found at the top of the chest. So if there is a horizontal flexion, there is also a horizontal extension. The muscle responsible for this movement is the trapezius, and it is found at the posterior trunk. Next one is the lateral rotation. The muscle responsible is the teres minor and infraspinatus, and it is found attached back of the scapula of the humerus. And the last one is the medial rotation. The muscle responsible is the teres major and subscapularis, which is attached side and front of the scapula to humerus. Next one is the joint in the spine. So it can produce four movements. First one is the flexion. The muscle responsible is the rectus abdominis, found in the middle of the abdomen. Next one is the extension. The muscle responsible is the erector spinae group, which is found in the cover length of spine. So we should always remember that the spine contains example of cartilaginous pivot and gliding joints, with its articulating bones being the vertebrae. So as a continuation of the movement produced in the spine, we could also have the lateral flexion, which is the muscle responsible is the external obliques and found in the lateral abdomen. We also have another lateral flexion. In the muscle responsible is the internal oblique, and it is found in the lateral abdomen beneath external oblique. So we should remember also that contraction of one side of the oblique will cause lateral flexion to the same side but rotation to the opposite side. Next, for the joint in the hip, it can also produce a movement of flexion and extension. For the flexion, the muscle responsible is the iliopsoas, located at the anterior pelvis. And for the extension, the muscle responsible is the gluteus maximus, and it is found in the posterior pelvis. We should also remember that the hip is a ball and socket joint with its articulating bones being the pelvis and femur, so it's like our shoulders. Another movement that it can produce is the abduction. The muscle responsible for this movement is the gluteus medius in the minimus, and it is found in the lateral hip, which is the minimus is underneath the medius. For the adduction, the muscle responsible is the adductor group, which are the longus, brevis, and magnus. It is found in the medial thigh. Next one, for the knee, the joint movement is flexion and extension. The muscle responsible for flexion movement is the biceps femoris, semimethydinosus, semimembranosus, and hamstring group, which is located at the posterior thigh. And for the extension, we have the muscles responsible: rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, vastus intramedius, and the quadriceps group, which is located in the anterior thigh. We should also remember that the knee is a hinge joint with its articulating bones being the femur and tibia. So when we say flexion, it is in the hamstring, and the extension, the movement is in the quadriceps. For the ankle movement, we have two movements. We have the dorsiflexion and the plantar flexion. The muscle responsible for the dorsiflexion is the tibialis anterior, found in the cover anterior of tibia. And for the movement of the plantar flexion, the muscle responsible is in the gastrocnemius, which is the soleus. So it is located in the calf muscles. For the ankle, we should remember that it is a hinge joint with its articulating bones being the tibia, fibula, and talus. So that concludes your topic for your prelim examination. I have sent already to the to your class representatives the soft copy of the muscles and the bones that you need to memorize for our oral recitation. And please visit the link for a quiz for this discussion.